So did you face any problem?
मैडम मैं क्लास की रिकॉर्डिंग चालू नहीं हुई थी करके मैं रिकॉर्डिंग चालू
Okay,
कर
Okay.
तो अभी ऑन है, अब आप चालू कर लीजिए मैडम।
Okay, thank you. Okay, so Akhil, did you face any issues, any doubts?
No, I was able to do it.
You were able to do all the questions without any problem?
No, ma'am, yeah, I was able to do it.
Okay, so was there any question which you got wrong in the beginning and then you went back to it? Nothing?
The answers given in the back for these passages because I'm going to find them.
The answers are given, I think, after the writing section.
Oh.
If you see, I think
Okay,
around
yeah,
page
okay.
82, around I think page 83 or 85, it could be something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
So you were, there was no problem in doing the paraphrasing question. What was it? I think it was. It was right. The question number 1 of the passage. So Jail, from last session, did you have any doubts?
No, ma'am.
No?
No.
Okay. How the other people are not in here? I think we'll wait 2 minutes till other people join in. I think reading comprehension part, the reading passages will not be difficult for you since you've been already doing them. And there are few more reading passages which you can attempt on your own because this is a very short course. So we will be focusing more on the speaking and writing than on the reading and listening. So reading and listening are the easier parts of it, and reading you've been doing for SAT also. So that will not be an issue. And if there, of course, you can do the passages, and at any point, if you have any doubt, always get back to me. Okay? You can raise your doubts in the sessions in the classroom or otherwise. Hello, Varnika.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, so you in the Toefl batch, or
Yes, ma'am, I'm in the Toefl batch.
so you weren't there yesterday?
Ma'am, yesterday at class, I had informed Pushpalata, ma'am, that I'll be joining from today.
Okay. Okay, so welcome to the class.
Thank you, ma'am.
Do you have the study material?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you received the hard copy. So I'm not sure if all of you are included in the WhatsApp group. I'll just make sure you are. And we'll be sharing the link to, now you will be requiring some listening tracks also. And the link to the material will be shared in the WhatsApp group so that everyone has access to it. So you can download and save the material so you can use it whenever you are practicing. Vanika, if it is possible, can we have your video on? Thank you. Okay, so Vanika, have you appeared for the SAT or you are going to appear?
Ma'am, I appeared. I did appear in March.
Okay. So are you planning to appear to take it again?
Yes, I'll take it again.
Okay. So what was your score in your first attempt?
Ma'am, it was very poor.
Like still how much?
930.
Right. So you are preparing well now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So yeah, just for you, yesterday we did the reading section. Now, as I was saying, this is the TOEFL is a very short, it's more or less of a crash course. So the reading sessions, we discussed the strategies and we also discussed the format of the TOEFL. So if you have your material, you can go through the session 1 and go through the basic format of the test. Yeah, so we have 4 parts to the TOEFL test. So unlike SAT, which are just comprehension, just a reading comprehension based questions, here you will be having the reading comprehension based questions. We did the strategies yesterday. You can do the passages. If you have any doubts, I can solve your doubts in the next class. Yeah, so you have to be practicing in order to ask your doubts. So you can go through the reading passage 1, 2, and then move on to practicing 3 and 4 and the rest. So there's just 3.
One doubt in question 12 of the second.
Okay, yeah. Question 12. Yeah, so, okay, this question, yeah, it is a little complicated. It says, which of the following statements about leading Roman soldiers is supported by paragraphs 5 and 6? 1 minute, I'll just share the screen. Just a moment, let me open up the.
Yeah, I think I got it. This is the keyword is leading Roman soldiers, not gen-
Yeah.
I think.
So they could not read and write the Greek language. That would be the answer because it talks about the Roman genius was projected to a new sphere, especially into those of law, etc. Roman state produced literary and artistic sensibilities, but that doesn't refer to the soldiers as such.
I think it's the last line that says
Yeah.
writers of high caliber.
It was no accident that many Roman soldiers and statesmen were writers of high caliber. No accident that some of them were, but in general, yeah, leading soldiers supported by the paragraph 5 and 6, they could read and write Greek language. That is the point. Okay. Okay, so now I think at least 4 of you are there. We will begin with a session, otherwise we will not be able to finish. Hello, Varun. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Okay, so Varun, have you received the link to the material? Varun, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, I thought I done with it. Yeah, I see it now. I was just checking it. I checked half an hour ago, it wasn't there, but now I think it's here.
Okay. So if you have the link, then you can download the material, because it is now for even for the reading section, since the TOEFL exam is a computer-based exam, it will always be better for you to practice on your screen, yeah, instead of the printed text, right? So you have to get used to practicing with your material on the screen. So your PDF is shared with you. You can use that and practice so that will help you to, like, when you have a text format in front of you, you tend to mark on it, underline, etc. But when you have it on the screen, you don't have those options, right? So you just have to see, or maximum you can do in the exam is you can highlight a part for your own reading, right? Other than that, you will not be able to do anything else. So it was always better if you practice with the material on the screen, right? Okay then. So we will begin by hello Rekha ma'am. Rekha ma'am, are you there?
Ma'am, I can't find the link.
Okay, I will just figure out maybe by today evening, because they said they will be sharing the link on the WhatsApp group.
Oh, okay, no, then I have gotten it yet. Okay.
Are you part of the WhatsApp group? Have you been included into it?
Yes, yeah, I'm in the group.
You are in the group. Okay, just then you can just check whether the link is there on the group or not.
Okay.
Just a moment. I think there's some problem. Just a second. Okay, so there's some issue. I think Rekha ma'am will be closing the meeting and then restarting it. So everyone can log in back again. Yeah.
Immediately, or do we wait for like 1-2 minutes in between?
इमीडिएटली मैं
Yes.
तुरंत
Okay.
1 मिनट में आपको फिर से लॉगिन करती हूँ और फिर आप तुरंत ज्वाइन हो जाओ
हाँ,
ठीक है
okay. Yeah.
Hello.
हाँ
हाँ, रेखा मैम आवाज आ रही है ना?
हाँ अब आ रही है अभी आप देख लीजिए शेयर स्क्रीन हो रहा है कि नहीं
हाँ, हाँ हो रहा है. थैंक यू.
हो रहा है ना ओके थैंक यू मैम
ओके. Okay, so everyone can see the screen.
Yeah.
Okay, so today we'll be doing the listening section. So this is basically listening comprehension. There will be no written part to it. You just have to listen to some tracks. It will be either lectures or conversations or interactive lectures. So you have to listen and the questions will follow after you have listened to the track. So the only disadvantage is that you will not be able to see the questions before listening to the track. Yeah. So the questions will be all surprise elements for you. So the format for this section, I think this we discussed yesterday also, about 3 to 4 lectures. The lectures will be about 3 to 5, maximum 3 minutes, sometimes 5 minutes long. And about 6 questions will be followed after the lecture. The conversations will be about 2 to 3 conversations. There's a flexibility, as I told you yesterday, because sometimes there may be some extra questions, which are the experimental questions, which you don't know which ones they are going to be. You have to answer all of them. So about 3 minutes of the conversations, and say a conversation between other 2 students or the faculty and students, and 5 questions per conversation will be there. So total time of about 41 to 57 minutes, depending upon the number of tracks you would be listening to. But it doesn't matter about that. You will get enough time to answer the questions, right? So presently we will be doing I will be playing the tracks for you, and if you have the link, all the tracks are shared on the link, right? So first, getting to the format of the questions. The questions are all multiple choice questions. In some cases, there could also be 2 answer choices. So when you are doing the test, the answer choices are marked. If a question has 2 answer choices, the options will not be in ovals, they will be in squares. So you know immediately that if it's in squares, then okay, I have to choose 2 answers. So the questions will ask you which of the following more than one, or are all of them correct, or all of them true, or which ones of them are true. So you know that more than one have to be marked. But of course, they're all 1 raw point each. And even if you have to mark, say, more than one option, but there's no partial credit. So you have to get both of them correct in order to get your raw point, right? And in the listening section, there will be especially okay, it can be in the lecture or the conversation. There's one replay question where a little part of the conversation or the lecture will be replayed for you, and there will be a question based on that part. Other than that, the track will not be replayed, or you cannot replay it at any point of time, right? So you have to be very careful about taking down notes from the lecture. Okay, so now the question test, we'll first just get an overview of the question test, and then we will go on to the part of how to take down notes, because that is very important. So you can get like in the reading section, you can get the main idea, the gist content section questions, where you have to identify. So it can be like, what was the lecture about? Yeah, or why was the student meeting the counselor? So the purpose of the things, the main idea of the passage will come in. Then the detailed question will be there, where some important questions can be on some specific details of the passage. And the function questions would be like, why did the lecturer say this, or why did the student say this? Yeah. So there you have to. You also, now one thing important in this, since you are listening to it, even when you read, you look at the tone of the passage, right? So here you have to look at the word stress and the intonation. So the intonation will give you the tone of the speaker, and the intention of the speaker you can guess from the tone. The attitude or stance questions can be there. So the speaker's degree of certainty or uncertainty, was the speaker. So when maybe a question was asked or a doubt raised, so it can be based on that part of the track. Then the organization questions, which talk about shift from general to specific. So the focus, say in a lecture, the lecturer is discussing a certain topic. Now this lecture may go on to giving examples or discussing a subtopic. So the general it shifts from a general topic to a specific part of the topic. So though you have to be very careful about taking down notes on those parts, because there's where you would be there can be a question about that specific topic that the lecturer is talking about, or in the conversation the student is talking about. Okay, then there could be connecting content questions. Yeah, so different pieces of information are given to you, and you could be asked to draw conclusions based on the pieces of information. So you connect the pieces of information together and draw your conclusions, right? Then making inference. So based on whatever is given to you, there could be different inferences drawn. There could be different types of inference questions. Yeah. So something which is not explicitly stated, but it implies, those you can make sure that these, on basis of this, there will be some inference question coming up. Yeah. So basically, you will be it will be listening for basic comprehension, that is understanding the whatever is given to you. Pragmatic understanding, that is the factual information that is given to you. You have to understand that and remember it, and you have to be able to draw your inference, that is synthesized information. Yeah, so this is the purpose of the listening test. So now what I'll do is I will take you through some guidelines. Now towards the end of the, if you have the volume with you, towards the end of the volume, there is this section where you have the guidelines to the section, which will give you all the strategies that you can follow in the different sections. So the reading section is not there because that anyway we have done, nothing new about it, but the others will be new. So basically, if I take you through you will be given instructions. Now, no matter what question, no matter how well you know the instructions will be given again. Now, the time that is taken to for them to give you the instructions, you can use to prepare yourself, right? Because you know this is the type of question and this is the instruction that is going to come up. So now, since this is a PDF, you will come across this headphone icons and a track number. Like, say a track number will be given to you, and just a second. So these you will have your folder with all the tracks and the numbers given to you like this. Right?
Will this be mailed?
Ma'am, I haven't received these.
Yeah, you will receive it. If is your name added to the WhatsApp group?
Ma'am, I'm in the Toefl group.
There will be a Toefl WhatsApp group.
Yeah, I am there. The last message was for the lecture timetable.
Okay, so Varun, was the link posted to you individually or did you receive it on the group?
No, it's that I saw a mail from UT and I thought that was it. So I said I'd see it, but then I opened it and it was something else. So even I haven't gotten it.
Okay, okay. So in the morning, actually, I was told that it's going to be posted on the group because I have not been added to the group as yet. So I will make sure that the everyone is added to the group and the link is posted to the group. Yeah. So you will receive the link and all the material will be there. So this is the way you will have the tracks for practice for yourself. Yeah. So each track, now if I say track 1, that means it is this one, track 1. So if you have something like this track 2, then you know immediately that you can have a look at track 2 over here. Right? Okay, so we will move on. So so now in the TOEFL listening section, one thing which you have to keep in mind is that first of all, the track is not going to be repeated. So all the information you have to either remember. Yeah, if you think you can remember everything, then well and good. Otherwise, it is advisable to take down notes. So when you take down notes, what happens is you don't miss out on anything. Now, taking down notes doesn't mean you take down the entire conversation or the entire lecture that you were listening to. You have to focus on just the main points. Right? When we say main points, so you can take down the keywords. Like if there is a conversation between a lecturer um, and the students, or maybe a student and the and say the registrar or the counselor, then you can have say 2 columns. Say this way. You can be taking notes like this, all in short form. Now this is an entire conversation of about 2 to 3 minutes or more. So who are the speakers? The male speaker and the female speaker, right? So you can draw 2 columns and just take down the main points. So since it's a conversation, you can I put down arrows. So let's say like the male speaker is come up for something, filing the graduation, getting the diploma. There's a problem. So the female speaker says there's a problem. So what is the problem? This. So you can use your own code. You will get a rough paper. You'll get rough sheets and pencil for your exam. You are not allowed to take in anything else into the examination center. So you will, on your rough paper, you can write down the way most convenient for you. Right? Now, if you start taking down entire sentences, the problem is that you will be missing out the point which is coming up next. So you will be focusing on writing and missing out on what is said after that. So in order to take down all the points, always use abbreviations. Abbreviations doesn't have to be elaborate. Nobody else needs to understand. Only you need to understand. So you have to understand what you have written down.
Yeah? Because like we're writing on the rough sheets, no, we don't have to turn them in or anything, right? They're just going to.
They will be sent to scrap.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So you will not be carrying your rough sheet outside the examination center. You will be submitting them. Nobody is going to even check them for your scores. So those are as good as scraps after you have finished with them. Right? Okay, so now I'll just take you through some guidelines of how to listen. Now, the listening strategies are important not only for the listening comprehension section, but all the integrated tasks that you will be coming up with. So the integrated tasks in the speaking section where you have to listen to a conversation or a lecture and then speak, and also in the writing section where you will be reading a passage, listening to a lecture on the same topic, and then writing. So this listening strategies are important for all the integrated tasks and the listening section, right? So you have to keep in mind these particular points as we do them. So they will help you throughout the TOEFL exam. Okay. Okay, so now one thing you must remember that in your listening section, only the major points are tested. So some details, of course, will be important, but not about every single thing. So some things you will anyway remember, and some important points you take down so that you don't get confused when you are asked a question on that particular point. So you have not missed out on any particular point. So now one thing you have to remember that, like I said, when you are taking down your notes, you have to keep a balance between listening and writing. So you have to be able to focus on both, because all the things that are being said, you will not be writing down. Some of the easy things maybe you will remember, so you don't need to write down, but you have to be able to focus on the important points. Yeah, don't get stuck on writing the entire sentence. Maybe an example is given and an explanation is given in a lecture and you are writing down the entire thing. Don't do that. Just write in abbreviations. You don't even have to write in the whole word. Say if I talk about confused, so you don't have to write down CONFUSED. Maybe just COND can be enough. CONF can be enough. Yeah, as long as you know what you have written. Okay. So now when you're taking down notes for the speaking section, some things you have to keep an eye on: the tone of the voice. Now, the tone of the voice says a lot. Maybe there's a doubt, a question. Maybe the person is not really sure about something, or is not satisfied with the answer. Yeah, or there's a question being asked, there's a sarcastic remark being made. So all those things, the attitude and opinion. Say if the speaker says, "I think so," or "I think," and then goes on to say something. So when the speaker is saying "I think," means an opinion is being expressed. So in the speaker's opinion, this. So if you get a question that what does the speaker say about this, or what is the speaker's opinion about this particular point? So you know that when the speaker said something, used those words, that means the speaker's opinion was coming in. Yeah, and also take note of the way the lecture is organized. This pertains to the listening section as well as the speaking and writing section. So now the ideas of the lecture may begin with one point, then may go on to another point, and that could be the main point of the lecture. So when you are listening to the lecture, look at the way it is organized. So what is being explained? So one particular point is being explained maybe, or maybe some examples are given after a point is explained. So the organization of the lecture is very important. So you can either, for a lecture, you can either create a flow chart, or you can just create bullet points for yourself. Yeah, so whatever is convenient, everyone, as long as you understand what you have written down. Okay, now one thing very important in Toefl is that you have to, in the Toefl listening. Now, unlike the reading section where you can go back to another a previous question, in the listening section, you cannot go back to a previous question. You have to be very careful about that. So here in the listening section, what you will be doing is there will be the option, you click on the option, there will be a button which says OK, right? So you click on the OK. So after you click on the OK, you can still go back to the previous question. But if you click on next, then you cannot go back to the previous question or the question that you have already submitted. Yeah. So make sure that you have thought out well and marked the answer, and it should be correct. Now there's no negative marking. So even if you are not very sure of an answer, at least take a guess, don't leave it be. Okay, now, yeah, so here how to get, now there, as I said earlier, there are no partial credits and there will be some replay questions. You can go through these. So these guidelines are for you when you are revising. I'll just get you through it a little bit. Okay, so as I already said, you have to focus on your keywords, yeah, and whatever you now, whatever notes you have taken down, always refer to your notes while you are answering. So maybe you remember vaguely, but there could be a point or there could be a keyword which is very important, and if you don't remember that keyword, you may get a wrong answer. So always remember to go back to your notes. Okay, now about the timing, more or less you will get about 35 seconds for each question. So about 5 questions or 6 questions per track, and if you get 35 seconds per question, I think half a minute for each question is more than enough to answer. Okay, now you will have the main idea questions like in the reading section also. Yeah. So now the main idea question will refer to mainly the overall presentation or overall idea in the lecture or the conversation. So keep an eye on what is the main purpose of the lecture, right? So when you're taking down notes on academic lectures, the things that you have to keep in mind that you have taken down is what is the professor trying to accomplish? What is the professor trying to say? What is the purpose of the lecture? That would come in from what is the professor trying to say. So the explaining a new topic, maybe the professor begins with a particular topic and then goes on to explain a new topic, or or goes on to explaining a specific point to bring clarity to it, yeah, or explaining two different opinions using examples. Say there is a interactive lecture and a student brings up another point and the lecturer is answering that point. So there could be a question based on that part. Yeah, so always take down what question has been raised or what doubt has been raised by the student and what was the answer of the lecturer, right? Now, something that you should always take down is some information in the conversation, say like reasons and examples. So why did the student meet the counselor? Maybe it is said that the student came in to say that I've come to do this, and then the counselor goes on to bring up some other points or some other problems. But you have to focus, you have to be writing down the main point why the student was there. If you miss out on that, then maybe you would get a wrong answer. And the terminology and phrases, those are important, especially in lectures. The terminology of certain things. Say it's a biology lecture and the lecturer is talking about some species or some camouflaging. So the specific terms used, you have to be able to take down. Okay? And the different opinions, questions, and reactions, these you have to get down. So if you get down the opinions, reactions, so you will be able to figure out why something was said, or how did the lecturer respond, or why did the lecturer respond to a specific question. Yeah, any solutions or suggestions given, take note of. Any decisions made. Say the lecturer is talking about a planning committee talking about some project going on. So any decisions taken by the planning committee, that would be an important point for any questions coming up. Okay. Of course, I spoke about organizing information questions. So you have to look at the relationship between the ideas. So listen for related ideas and relationships in the lecture. Yeah, so the ideas that come up, and say there's a contrasting relationship or there's an explanation given to a previous point. Those are very important. Now, if you have a lecture, means it is talking about some particular, say it is a science lecture, so it will be talking about some theory, yeah, or some hypothesis. To take down those points, what was the hypothesis? What was the theory being discussed? What was the inference made? Right? And another thing very important is the negative. So take note of whenever there's a contrasting point, or when you come up with some negative. This was not discussed in the passage, or this was not brought up by the scientist. Yeah, or maybe the student has said, I'm not sure, but I did submit. Yeah, and maybe the counselor says, but I did not receive the mail. Why did she not receive the mail? That would be a different question. And there could be some non-essential information which is usually the question doesn't come up. Then identify digression. This is one thing you have to be able to take note of. Say there's a joke, there's a sarcastic remark, or there's a discussion from a different topic. There's a discussion on topic from the which is different from the main topic. So maybe there's a doubt raised, and then the lecturer discusses that particular point and then goes back to the main point again. So what was that point that was discussed? Maybe the examiner can, the question can catch you on that also. Yeah. So now when you're talking about connection between ideas, what are the words that help you to identify there's a connection between ideas? What type? There'll be a reason. Yeah. So you can have words like therefore, also, or because, since. Yeah. There could be a resultant idea from the main idea. So as a result of this, therefore, consequently, those are the types of words that will come up, you can come across. Okay. Then the examples. So you have such as, for example, now especially in the lectures you come across examples. So the lecturer is discussing a certain topic and then goes on that, okay, I'll give you, for example, so the example explains the particular topic. This is specifically these type of examples are very important when you're talking, when you are dealing with the speaking section. So a lecture is given to you, your question will be specifically, what are the examples, discuss the examples the lecturer used to explain the concept. So you should know what were the examples and how they were used to explain the concept. Now comparisons, these are very important. Yeah. So in comparison, whether something, these two things are compared or an analogy is drawn between two things, take note of those. If there's an opposing idea, so maybe the word comes on however, other than that, on the other hand, but, so you know there's an idea which is not in accordance with what was discussed earlier, or there's a contrasting idea coming up. Yeah, or something or some additional idea comes up, so you will come across the words furthermore. So all the transition words that you come across is very important, right? In the reading passage that we did yesterday also, I pointed out some transition words. Similarly, in the lectures, in whatever you are listening to, take note of the transition words. So when you have transition words, you know there's something more discussed or something else discussed or some contrasting thing discussed, right? So there could be similar ideas. When you come up with similar ideas, there could be likewise, similarly, restatement of information. So something is explained, and now the same thing is something has been stated, or it could be explained or said in another words. So in other words, that is, so the lecturer could be explaining it in a different way. And conclusions. Now conclusions will help you in summarizing whatever has been said, right? Especially in the speaking section, the summary of the lecture or the talk is very important. So all these things would be important while you are taking down your notes. So the keywords and phrases, of course, will be there. So something, if something is paraphrased or repeated, take it down. Yeah. Now, when you are giving your answer, especially in the speaking section and the writing section, you will be asked to paraphrase. It is better always to paraphrase whatever has been given. So when you are taking down notes, don't take down your notes into exact words that were being said. So if you take it down in your own words, it will be easier for you to paraphrase and put it down. So now, okay, here again, if something is said louder and clearer than the other point, take note of the tone and what is being said. If something has been stressed, that means it is an important point. Yeah. So now, in a lecture, what happens? The lecturer is giving you a lecture on a particular topic. Now, before coming to a very important point, maybe there's a pause. Yeah, or maybe the lecturer would say that this was explaining something, and another important point is, or just pause and move on to something which is more important. So those things have to be taken note of, and especially explanation of technical words, which is extremely important. If you miss out on the technical words, you may miss out on a lot of things in your answering the question or even in your writing. Yeah. And yeah, for any divisions, any subtopics, always write down the heading for that subtopic that has come up. And the dates, times, purpose. There's an excuse for something in the conversation. Take note of it. So there are lots of things that you have to take note of. Yeah. So of course, as I said earlier, also always use symbols, abbreviations, like a number. You just write number of people. So don't need to write the entire sentence or the entire word also. So the okay, now in the speaking in the listening section, you will come across some blackboards in the middle of the lecture. Yeah, so which will give you an idea of some important terms or phrases that are being used. Say there's a lecture on in biology, and it's talking about coloration, or it's talking about camouflaging. So maybe the word camouflaging has come up on the blackboard. So that will be an important point to take note of. Yeah. Any illustrations or graphics that are shown, they would have a valuable. They would be giving some valuable information regarding the topic. Okay. So any facts and information that you come across, always take note of it. Okay, now in the conversation, there are few things that you have to take note of. Like, who is the main speaker? First thing, yeah. Who holds what opinion? Now, especially in the speaking section, when you have a conversation between two people, there will be one main speaker, and the other person would be a supporting speaker. Now, all the opinions will be of the main speaker. Yeah. So you have to be able to figure out who is the main speaker, what were the opinions, and what were the points raised. And okay, now here are some important keywords that you will be coming across, and those will be important, like register, dean, assignment. Now, if the track has said there's a conversation, and say maybe in the introduction to the conversation that comes up, you are told that now you will listen to a conversation between a student and a registrar. Yeah. So it is very important that you write down that it is conversation student registrar. So the two speakers are the student and the registrar. So there could be a question which asks you who did the student approach. So if you don't remember it was a registrar, then you will be getting the answer wrong. So you will not, if you say counselor instead of registrar, or the dean instead of the registrar, then it will be a problem, right? So whether it is an assignment being talked about, or is it some paper being given or submitted, or it's talking about some deadline, or some credits to be given, or some courses to be taken, those are the key words that have to be taken note of, right? So these are the main things that you have to be able to keep in mind when you are listening and taking down notes. Okay, so this I already told you that you will have two buttons to press before moving on. So if you don't press those two buttons, you may move on to the next question. Say you will be pressing an OK button and a next button. So once you have pressed both of them, A, you cannot go back, and B, unless you press both the buttons, your answer will not be registered. Yeah, so that's what you have to keep in mind, right? Okay, so now we'll go back to doing some exercises. So far, you know why taking down notes is so important. So you have to be able to build up a strategy of taking down notes, keeping your focus while you are taking down notes, and at least taking down the main points. The keywords and main points are very essential. So any abbreviations, symbols, whatever you want to use, doesn't matter if nobody else understands, as long as you understand, right? Okay, everyone, can we have your videos on so that we can move on with answering some questions? So can you see this part? I hope it's visible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is, if you see now, okay, I'll just first play this. Okay, now, yeah, I would suggest everyone have your headphones on, right? This is a track.
Just a second. I'm just going to get my headphones.
Yeah, you can all get your headphones till the time I set up the track.
Listen to
Okay, now everybody make sure you are focused with your pen and paper in hand. I want everyone to have a pencil, not a pen. Usually you have to get used to writing with a pencil, right? So because you will be not getting a pen, you will be getting a pencil for the exam. So have a pencil and paper in hand and your headphones on. Yeah, all ready?
Ma'am, okay, so pencil also you said they will provide, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
they'll be
No, because
providing.
I was going to ask if we could take pencils or
No,
some.
they'll be providing you
Yeah.
with everything, whatever
Okay.
you require, except for your identity documents. Everything else will be provided. So you have to carry only your documents with you. You are not allowed your mobile phone or any other material inside.
Okay.
Right? Okay, so everyone ready? Now I'll be playing a track. Listen carefully, and then I'll be moving on to the questions. Yeah.
Okay.
a conversation between a student and a registrar.
Hi, I'd like to drop off my graduation form. I understand you need this in order to process my diploma.
Okay, I'll take that. Before you leave, let me check our computer. Looks like you're okay for graduation. And, actually, I'm getting a warning flag on your academic record here.
Really?
Yeah, let's see what's what. Okay, are you familiar with our graduation requirements?
I think so.
Well, then you know you need 48 credits in your major field to graduate and at least 24 credits at the intermediate level or higher. Also, after your second year, you have to meet with your department chair to outline a plan for the rest of your time here. In the past, we also issued letters before a student's final year began to let them know what they needed to take in their final year to be okay. But we don't do that anymore.
I definitely met with my chairperson 2 years ago. He told me that I needed 8 more courses at the intermediate level or higher in the last 2 years to be okay. So I'm not sure what the problem is. I made sure I got those credits.
Unfortunately, the computer's usually pretty reliable. So I'm not sure what's going on here.
It could be that I've taken 2 basic courses, but coupled both of them with field experiences.
What do you mean?
Well, I could only take intro courses because there were no intermediate level courses available for those particular topics. My chairperson told me that if I did independent field research in addition to the assigned work in each course, they would count as intermediate level courses. My classmates, some of my classmates did this for an easy way to meet their intermediate course requirement. But I did it to get the kind of depth in those topics I was going for. As it turned out, I really enjoyed the fieldwork. It was a nice supplement to just sitting and listening to lectures.
I'm sure that's true, but the computer's still showing them as basic level courses, despite the fieldwork.
I'm not sure what to do then. I mean, should I cancel my graduation party?
No reason to get worried like that. Just contact your chairperson immediately, okay? Tell him to call me as soon as possible so that we can verify your fieldwork arrangement and certify those credits right away. It's not like there's an actual deadline today or anything, but if more than a few weeks go by, we might have a real problem that would be very difficult to fix in time for you to graduate. In fact, there probably would be nothing we could do.
I'll get on that.
Okay, so everyone got your points from the lecture? I hope the lecture was loud and clear. It was
Yeah.
clear? Okay. So now here, what was this was a conversation between
Student and registrar.
registrar, right? So it was important to get down that point about it was a registrar. So what was the conversation about?
He was giving his graduation form for his diploma.
And anyone with telling me what was the problem, Akhil? What was the problem?
He didn't seem to have enough credits to graduate this May.
So how many? What was the requirement? If anyone has taken down the notes, also
48.
anyone,
40.
somebody can show me how you have written it down. Anybody? Okay, can you do a little closer? Okay, so you got quite a few things written down. Yeah, good. So more or less, I hope you've got your points. Yeah. Okay, Varnika, that was good. I hope you haven't written down entire words, all of them. Some of them I see entire words. I hope not all of them. Okay. So, okay. Now, how many points? They needed 48 credits for the major, and what else? Varnika, can you tell me?
24 for intermediate.
Yeah, 24 or 28. I think I got it. Yeah. Okay. So, what was the student saying in response to that?
He had taken 2 basic courses coupled with field experience.
No, before that, there was something about the requirement he was saying that he had the professor or the chairperson had told him that 8 more courses were required for the last 2 years. Yeah, and he had got his credits.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Akhil, can you tell me how did he get his credits?
He did some
talks
field
about
work
some, yeah.
along with.
So he did some field work. Very good. So now about the field work, he gives some details about the field work. Yeah, Varnika, what does he say about the field work?
He did it because he wanted to and not to just take it as credit.
He did it, he enjoyed it, and he also mentioned something about his classmates.
His classmates did it as an easy way to get the required credit.
And while he did it because he enjoyed doing it rather than just taking classroom lectures. Yeah. And what other information does the registrar give? The registrar provides some more information.
That there's no deadline for him to get this done, but if it was more than few weeks, then it would have been a problem for him.
Yeah. So, and she also tells him to contact the chairperson immediately. Right? So more or less in this, you have taken notice the tone of conversation at different points of time. Yeah. So in the beginning, like there's a doubt raised by the registrar. There's like a disbelief sort of thing from the student side, but I have done this. And so this is the conversation we came across, right? So maybe while the conversation is going on, something of this type of a picture can come up. Yeah, you can see the PDF. I hope it's been shared.
No, it's just still showing that media play. Yes, now I can see.
Okay, so usually while the track is being played, you won't have an entire video, but you may have just a picture like this. So the picture itself will give you an idea that, okay, this is a student and some official person talking to the student, right? So a conversation between the two people. Okay, now we come on to the questions. Now you can quickly answer the questions. We'll discuss whatever you have heard. So question number 1, 2, 3. These are on your screen. You can answer these. Then I will get to you with the answers. You can write down your answers and I'll ask you. Okay, done. I'll scroll down to number 4. Right? All done? Jay, are you done with your answers?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so now what is the answer to number 1?
1.
D.
D. So
Yes.
why does a man go to the registrar to submit the required documents required for graduation? Okay, number 2 is according to
B.
the registrar.
B.
B. Okay, you said B. Any other answer to this? Everyone has B. Varnika?
B.
B. So according to the registrar, what step is currently taken to ensure that the students fill the graduation requirements? They meet the department chair to plan their coursework. Yeah. So earlier they used to get letters, but now they don't get letters. So letters will not be the answer. So number 3, okay.
D.
Yes, Vanika?
D.
D.
D. Yeah. So why does a man mention his classmates to emphasize his motivation? So he did it for a different purpose, and his classmates did it for a different purpose. Okay. So number 4.
B.
Yeah.
B.
B or D?
D.
B.
Varun, according to you, it's D.
No, it's D according to me.
Okay. Your question is, why does the registrar tell the man to contact his chairperson immediately? Right? So, your options are a deadline has already passed, that is, we can eliminate. The man has limited time to resolve the problem. That could be the answer. So, you don't have enough time, you should do it immediately. Right? Not that there's a deadline, but it should be resolved. And D says, now the man first needs to find the chairperson and help him. Now that is not really the reason. Issuing a new grade may take longer than expected. Do we come across longer than expected anywhere?
No.
It may take a few weeks, but it doesn't say longer than expected, right? So D will not be your answer. B will be the answer. Right? So now here, make sure when you are going through the options, you look at the keywords. Here, the new issuing a new grade may take longer than expected, and then you go back to the points that you have written down. Did you come across longer than expected anyway?
No.
If it said it can take a few weeks, because of that you should do it immediately, but it doesn't mean or imply longer than expected, right? So here it is B. Okay, now we have another track coming up. So I'll play the track. Now this is the replay track where you are expected to listen to a second track.
Listen again to part of the conversation, then answer the question.
I'm not sure what the problem is. I made sure I got those credits.
Unfortunately, the computer's usually pretty reliable, so I'm not sure what's going on here.
What does the registrar imply when she says this?
Unfortunately, the computer's usually pretty reliable, so I'm not sure what's going on here.
Okay, so I hope you got what was being said. Yeah. So it is about the question is also in the track. The question is not will not come up again. Your options will come up again. So I hope you listen to the question also. So what was the question?
Why does she say that the
Computer is reliable.
yeah.
Why did she say that the computer was pretty reliable? So here are your options. You have to pick the correct option. So if you're not sure, at least eliminate whatever you think is not the right answer. You will surely come up with your right answer. So does she say she is uncertain about the reliability of the computer? No.
No.
She will approve the man's form despite her doubts about it?
No, ma.
That also, no. She needs more information about the man's credits?
Yes.
If she was talking about more information. She needs to call someone to help with the computer? No. So the only option remaining is C. And that's your right answer. Right? So these are your 5 questions relating to this conversation. Pretty easy. Right? Only thing, you have to be able to take note of a few details regarding what you listen to. Right? Okay, now we can move on to another track. So I'll play the third track. Listen carefully. Now this is about a lecture. Now this thing will not come up usually before the track starts playing. I have put it up for your convenience, but this will usually come up only after the track has been played.
Listen to part of a lecture in a biology class.
So that's how elephants use infrasound. Now let's talk about the other end of the acoustical spectrum, sound that's too high for humans to hear, ultrasound. Ultrasound is used by many animals that detect, and some of them send out, very high-frequency sounds. So what's a good example? Yes, Carol?
Well, bats. Since they're all blind, bats have to use sound for, to keep from flying into things.
That's echolocation. Echolocation is pretty self-explanatory, using echoes, reflected sound waves, to locate things. As Carol said, bats use it for navigation and orientation. And what else? Mike?
Well, finding food is always important. And I guess not becoming food for other animals.
Right, on both counts. Avoiding other predators and locating prey, typically insects that fly around at night. Now, before I go on, let me just respond to something Carol was saying. This idea that bats are blind. Actually, there are some species of bats, the ones that don't use echolocation, that do rely on their vision for navigation. But it is true that for many bats, their vision is too weak to count on. Okay, so quick summary of how echolocation works. The bat emits these ultrasonic pulses, very high-pitched sound waves that we can't hear. And then they analyze the echoes, how the waves bounce back. Here, let me finish this diagram I started before class. So the bat sends out these pulses, very focused bursts of sound, and echoes bounce back. You know, I don't think I need to draw on the echoes. Your reading assignment for the next class, it has a diagram that shows this very clearly. So anyway, as I was saying, by analyzing these echoes, the bat can determine, say, if there's a wall in a cave that it needs to avoid and how far away it is. Another thing it uses ultrasound to detect is the size and shape of objects. For example, one echo they'd quickly identify is the one they associate with a moth, which is common prey for a bat, particularly a moth beating its wings. However, moths happen to have a major advantage over most other insects. They can detect ultrasound. This means that when a bat approaches, the moth can detect the bat's presence, so it has time to escape to safety. Or else they can just remain motionless, since when they stop beating their wings, they'd be much harder for the bat to distinguish from, a leaf or some other object. Now, we've tended to underestimate just how sophisticated the abilities of animals that use ultrasound are. In fact, we kind of assumed that they were filtering a lot out, the way a sophisticated radar system can ignore echoes from stationary objects on the ground. Radar does this to remove ground clutter, information about hills or buildings that it doesn't need. But bats, we thought they were filtering out this kind of information because they simply couldn't analyze it. But it looks as if we were wrong. Recently, there was this experiment with trees and a specific species of bats, a bat called the lesser spear-nosed bat. Now, a tree should be a huge acoustical challenge for a bat, right? I mean, it's got all kinds of surfaces with different shapes and angles. So, well, the echoes from a tree are going to be a mass of chaotic acoustic reflections, right? Not like the echo from a moth. So we thought for a long time that bats stopped their evaluation at simply, that's a tree. Yet it turns out that bats, or at least this particular species, can not only tell that it's a tree, but can also distinguish between, say, a pine tree and a deciduous tree, like a maple or an oak tree, just by their leaves. And when I say leaves, I mean pine needles, too. Any ideas on how it would know that?
Well, like with the moth, could it be their shape?
You're on the right track. It's actually the echo off all the leaves as a whole that matters. Now, think. A pine tree with all those little densely packed needles, those produce a large number of faint reflections in what's called a smooth echo. The waveform is very even. But an oak, which has fewer but bigger leaves with stronger reflections, produces a jagged waveform, or what we call a rough echo. And these bats can distinguish between the two, and not just with trees, but with any echo that comes in a smooth or rough shape.
Okay, so that was a lecture, quite a long lecture, lots of information, right? So I hope more or less you've got your points down. So in the lecture, as I have discussed about the listening strategies, you would have found that there were a lot of subtopics, responses to questions raised by the students. Yeah, there was a shift from one idea to another idea, right? Lots of things were there. There was the general topic, then specifics, examples, right? So I hope you've got everything down, more or less. So, give me a few main points about the first part of the lecture. You can give me, Jay.
Yes.
Yes. So, in the beginning, what was the lecturer talking about?
Ma'am, elephants using infrasound.
So, was that the main point of the lecture?
No, ma'am.
No. What was the main point of the lecture?
Bats using signals to detect things.
So ultrasounds used by bats to detect things. And then it went on to echolocation. yeah, in response to a question raised by a student. Then it went on to that blacks are blind or not. So that was a little detour from the main topic being discussed, but related to the main topic. Now, there was also next, what was there about analyzing shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
Yeah, how
Yeah.
how they, then there was also this thing about the moth, how the moth also can detect the bat and either flies away or what does it do? Stays motionless. There were two things. Moth fly
They
away,
detect
stay
ultra.
motionless so that it doesn't get detected. Right? So it can detect ultrasounds also. Then there was the comparison to what? Akhil? How the moths detect. There was a comparison to the sophisticated radar. Right? So why was the radar mentioned?
Because it mentions it removes useless, not required information. It also
So
goes
it
on to
means
mention
that it could not only stationary objects, then it went on to say that they were wrong in analyzing how the bats, that the bats could um, get signals from stationary objects only, but they could also get signals from more complicated objects. Yeah, so they could detect not only that this is a tree, but they could detect the echoes coming in from the different types of leaves. Okay, so this is more or less what the lecture was about. We'll go on to the questions. Okay, so here's your first three questions before I scroll down. You can answer these three, then I'll scroll down to the next. Now here if you see there's a word not, take note of it and choose two answers. Take note of that also. Unfortunately in our text we did not have the option of the round and the square. So the typing it was not given. You can go on with the questions. Make sure you answer them correctly. Okay, let me know when you finish these three.
I'm done.
Everyone done?
Yes.
Okay. So here's your question number 4 and 5. Done?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, so now I'll play another track relating to question number 6.
Listen again to part of the lecture, then answer the question.
Now, before I go on, let me just respond to something Carol was saying. This idea that bats are blind.
Why does the professor say this?
Now, before I go on, let me just respond to something Carol was saying.
Okay. So now this is your question number 6. Why does the professor say that she wanted to respond to what Carol was saying? Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we'll take your answers then. So question number 1.
B.
B.
Yes.
Everyone got B. How
B.
bats use acoustic signals. That was the main idea about the lecture. Okay. Number 2. Why does the professor decide not to add information to the diagram?
B.
So this was something which was not related to the main lecture, but something to take note of. So something which is maybe we could think it is not important. So here your answer was D, yeah?
Yes.
Because it is already in the text. Okay, number 3, you had to choose 2 answers.
A and C.
A and C.
A and C. It would stop beating its wings or leave the area. Number 4, what surprising information did a recent experiment reveal about spear-nosed bats?
B.
B.
Yes.
B, that they can analyze echoes from stationary objects with complex circuits. Right? Number 5,
C. C.
the
C.
small densely packed needles. And number 6,
B.
B.
B, to correct the statement that Carol made, that was about the bats are blind. Right? So it was a long lecture, but if you see, the questions are pretty easy. Right? So in the listening section, usually you will be able to get full marks if you have taken your notes carefully, listened very carefully, and chosen your correct answer. Yeah. So because it's a little difficult to get full marks in the others, but in the listening section and the reading section, you can get full marks. Okay, I think we'll just take about 5 minutes more. Anyone has to go for any other lecture?
Ma'am, I have a class at 6.
Okay, fine. So I think we will stop here. Maybe we can continue tomorrow, or you have the tracks, or you will be getting the tracks, all the study materials. So you can use the tracks the way we use them in class, but do not look at the questions before listening to the track. Yeah. And after I finish with all the sessions, I will share some extra study material with you, with which you can continue with your practice. Okay?
Okay.
Yes.
So, any doubts from today's session? Anyone has any doubts? Any questions to ask?
No, ma'am.
No? Everything is clear?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Only thing you have to remember that the listening strategies that we discussed will be applied in this section, in the speaking section, and in the writing section. So you have to be able to correct. Now, what you do is, you just listen to anything. Like yesterday, I told you to listen to different types of TED Talks or anything which has a native English accent and is fast enough. Listen to those and try taking down notes the way we discussed.
Okay.
Yeah? So that will give you practice in listening and focusing on taking down notes and taking down the main points. And then go back to your notes and see if you have got all the points that were there in the lecture or the talk that you came across. Okay. So that's it for today then.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye, ma'am.
I'll see you on Saturday morning. Thank you so much. And I'll make sure that material. So thank you, Rekha ma'am.